me.
Yeah, I can see you good. Preparing, setting up.
Me.
Yeah, I can. Preparing. And we're live. Welcome to Love and Money Secrets TV. And in this episode, we are going to resume our reading of the Mitochondria or Mitochondriac Manifesto. This is by R.D. Lee, as you may or may not know. And if you don't have the book yet, I would highly encourage that you pick it up. No, I do not have an affiliate link. So just go to Amazon and purchase it. I don't have any financial vested interest. My interest is in teaching, training, and educating you to empower you so that you know how to run your body, how to balance your chemistry, and how to restore it so that if you have any kind of dysregulation, you can put that in the past and turn the other cheek so that things will get infinitely better. Just as Dr. Jack Kruse, who is a mentor of R.D. Lee's, because he does mention him in the book, and Dr. Jack, who's affectionately called by many, will call him Uncle Jack because he calls himself Uncle Jack to the audience. And he just wants you, he goes, it doesn't matter if I make any money off of you guys or not. That's not the point. The point is for you to have the correct, accurate information. He goes, a lot of this stuff I did not learn in medical school. I had to learn it afterwards. So what good did it do me to be at the top of my graduating class, both as an oral surgeon and then later as a brain surgeon, if there were missing parts to what I needed to be the best surgeon that I could be? And then when he started to, and of course, every, the invention, necessity is a mother of invention. So when you have a need for something, you'll invent or you'll discover what you need. And that's what happened to him, because he was not just a little overweight, he was actually obese.
Oh,
And it wasn't until he was speaking on stage and one day just going to climb the stage, just 3 steps, not a big stairway, just 3 steps. Going up those 3 steps, all of a sudden he tore his meniscus.
oh,
And he couldn't understand how just walking, just going up 3 steps, he could tear his meniscus. And then as the story goes, just to give you the brief version, you can check out his story on, you just look him up on YouTube. Dr. Jack, J-A-C-K, Kruse, K-R-U-S-E. And he talks about how there was somebody in the audience. He was talking to a group of surgeons, and there was the wife of a surgeon that was there with her husband, and she happened to work for a pharmaceutical company. And she basically gave him this book and told him, you need to read this. And this has some of the keys of what you're looking for. And then he kind of looked at her kind of quizzically, because it's like, the monk who stole, it's like the monk who sold his Ferrari. He's like, what does this have to do with neurosurgery?
right.
Read the book, and he read in between the lines. And then he also got access to some research having to do with photobiomodulation. The rest is history. So he has then been, he spent like, I think it was like $9,000 just printing books that you could not access. They're not even available in medical schools. And he had to deconstruct and learn more applied physics, because in medical school, they don't teach you applied physics. You get physics in undergrad when you're a pre-med student, but they don't teach you applied physics in medicine. And so part of how light reflects and how it refracts, we're light beings. Everything is light inside of our body. And so he goes on to explain how he started to connect all of the dots. And so now fast forward, it's been about 20 years. He did end up losing over the next 3 months as he put the pieces of the puzzle together. He lost 90 pounds in 3 months without changing his diet and without exercising.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good job.
And
Ooh.
so you'll have to get the rest of the story by looking on YouTube. Until then, we are going to continue on the Mitochondriac Manifesto. I hope that just that little bit of introduction, which I wasn't originally planning on doing, I work, extemporaneously from the heart, whatever I feel impelled to share with you guys. And I felt there's a few of you out there that might need to hear that story. So it's nighttime, and so excited over, these are no longer prescription glasses.
Yeah.
These are readers. Yes, I bought 4 of them for less than 20 bucks on Amazon as of April. For the first time since I was 5 years old, I no longer need prescription glasses, all as a direct result of these patches that use photobiomodulation. I'm not going to talk more about that here. We're going to read this book, but I do need to put these on to protect me from the blue light screen from the computer, and for me to read this tinier print in this book under the red lights, as Dr. Jack teaches us, and because it's dark out. Now it's basically sunset here. All right, so mitochondria, where health or sickness begins. Excess mitochondrial capacity enabled 2 types of creature to survive the Great Extinction. Oh my gosh, 65 million years ago, an asteroid over 6 miles wide hit shallow water off the coast of present-day Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula. So according to geologists, the oh boy, how do you say this? Chicxulub? I'm going to tell you how it's spelled. CHIC, and then there's an X, ULUB. Now you see why it's difficult for me to pronounce something I've
Definitely.
never seen before.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, Chicxulub, if I had to guess. Okay, the Chicxulub asteroid, as it's called today, threw so much debris into the atmosphere that it blotted out the sun and depressed photosynthesis in plants for 10 to 100 years.
Wow. Woo.
Wow, to depress the sun for all the plants and photosynthesis from 10 to 100 years. That's a long time. The tsunami and superheated ejector cloud were so cataclysmic to the Earth's ecosystems that they were thought to have wiped out the dinosaurs. Okay, I'm going to pause right here because the thought that comes to my head is, I wonder if that's why Noah built an ark, because there was this great flood. I don't know if that coincides with that time frame. Probably not, because Jesus was here 2,000 years ago, and he said 65 million years. Don't ask me those questions. Linking the Bible to this. Nope. Let's stick to the science here. So the tsunami and the superheated ejector cloud were so cataclysmic to the Earth's ecosystem that they're thought to have wiped out the dinosaurs. Bad for the dinosaurs, but good for us. It was the extinction level event that's believed to have launched the age of mammals. So what made it through that seminal event? I don't know. Let's find out. 2 classes of creature had something special that allowed them to make it through the Great Extinction. It was flying dinosaurs and mammals that both hibernate and both had excess mitochondrial capacity that helped them get by with less. They basically had bigger mitochondrial gas tanks designed for flight and hibernation, so they could fill up less often and scrape by while they adapted to the new conditions. It's thought the flying dinosaurs evolved into birds, while ancient mammals evolved into early man. Whether that story is true or not, the biology of modern man still has links to distant ancestors in the form of reflexive survival behaviors. Switches encoded deep within our reptilian nervous system that activate survival programming. One such behavior is called the mammalian dive reflex, in which babies born from a placenta, they hold their breath and swim to the surface after being born into water. Another trait we have in common with our ancient ancestors is that we've taken hibernation programming used by some bear species and have essentially shrunk months into hours. When we sleep, in sleep, we're supposed to go through cycles of ketosis and renewal. But when we don't sleep well, our bodies can't get into a parasympathetic resting state deeply enough to recover from the day's exertion. Okay, I'm going to pause right here because that's highlighting how important it is to get deep sleep and to be well rested, because you need your parasympathetic, because during the day you have your sympathetic nervous system on, and it's you're awake, you have your fight or flight, you're ready if an emergency hits, your heart rate goes up, your adrenaline dumps, cortisol in your bloodstream, and now you have extra energy to dart, to jump, to run, to fight, to flight, whatever's needed. In the evening, now it's your rest and digest, parasympathetic nervous system. So now you put your head down. You're supposed to have your cortisol levels have a natural drop. Your heart rate should go back down to a resting heart rate, and you should be able to go into a deep sleep. It's during deep REM state of sleep that your stem cells can repair, can restore, and rejuvenate all sorts of different things inside the body. So it says here, but when we don't sleep well, our bodies can't get into that parasympathetic resting state deeply enough to recover from the day's exertion. So you see, you're not able to recuperate from the day's exertion unless you get into that deep REM state of sleep in that parasympathetic rest and digest system. So that shorts us on cell repair. Did you hear that? You're being shortchanged cellular repair when that doesn't take place. That means you're cheating your own self from getting the repair that you need. Rebalancing of biochemicals such as dopamine and serotonin, detoxification, and important for this discussion, restoration of mitochondria to keep them fresh. Just as a little reminder, here, first of all, here's a picture of the mitochondria. They almost look like little peanuts, and you have multiple mitochondria inside each cell. And each one of those they're like little manufacturing plants of energy. They manufacture something called ATP. So that's what creates energy for the cell and for your whole body. Super important. So what are mitochondria? I didn't know that I was going to talk about what are mitochondria next. It's funny. So mitochondria are double membraned organelles. Organelles just means tiny organ, okay? A cell's organs, often described as being the power plants of the cell. I like to call them little manufacturing, like energy manufacturing plants. Just think of it like if you had the electrical company that, like we happen to have Edison just a couple miles down from here. Just think of having that, but on a subcellular level. Mitochondria are essential to every member of the animal kingdom because they make a biochemical that the body uses to meet its energy demands, ATP, which I just mentioned a little bit ago. Through ATP production, mitochondria also produce signaling molecules that allow cells, mitochondria, and the immune system to talk to each other. We call those signaling molecules free radicals, reactive oxygen species, which is ROS, oxygen radicals, or redox molecules, all the same thing. In addition, mitochondria make deuterium-depleted metabolic water. I'm going to hit a huge pause button here because I want you to listen. Mitochondria, those tiny little factories, they make deuterium depleted. That means that there's no deuterium. Deuterium is absence. In the water, it's a special metabolic water that is devoid of deuterium. That's letting you know that you don't want deuterium. You don't want deuterium in your water that you drink, and you don't want deuterium intracellularly. Your body is designed to get rid of that deuterium. And on another note, you can purchase deuterium-free water. It's very expensive, but it is available. Just like a case will run you about $160 to $220, just to give you an idea. It's very expensive water. And every market, you can look it up online. About 200 to 5,000 of these mitochondria live inside each of our cells. Listen, did you hear that? 200 to 5,000 of these little mitochondria live inside each one of our cells. Most cell types, anyway, equaling 30% of a person's dry weight. Isn't that interesting? So if you were to take a 100-pound person, 30 pounds of that 100 pounds is just purely mitochondria. Just to kind of give you an idea. That's like pretty significant. They take care of the cell in so many ways or not. However, they are their own life form. They're organelles. They operate on their own. And they possess their own DNA. So they ride along inside each cell. Yes, they live, reproduce, and die separately from the host. You're the host. from the host cells. Well, what a peculiar pairing of independent entities. Why? Why do you suppose did they end up joining forces? Let's find out. Of epic consequence, mitochondria and multicelled organisms made a deal to work together millions of years ago in what would become the most successful partnership in the history of life on Earth. Mitochondria agreed to take up residence inside the cells of eukaryotes and get fed on a regular basis by the organism. In exchange, they make ATP to power many of our cells' activities. They also make the best kind of water for our biology, which is deuterium depleted or deuterium absent water. They generate magnetism. That means a magnetic pull, like magnets, which all light has positive and negative energy. Makes sense because we're light beings, right? They produce redox potential, and their environmental sensors, as explained in the previous chapter, these are mitochondria's 5 most important functions. So basically, the more mitochondria you have and the healthier they are, the more energy you can produce and the better your cells operate in many ways. Conversely, depressed mitochondria equate to a chronic low energy, poor cell-cell, in other words, poor cell-to-cell communication, reduced cellular repair, and accelerated aging. Oh no, we don't want that. Unfortunately, mitochondria populations weaken as you age. First, that's the first thing. Secondly, when toxins and disease mutate their DNA, oh yes, your DNA reacts to the environment that you breathe, that you live in, the environment that you take from outside in the form of fruits, vegetables, meats, fish, you name it, and you take that and you put it, you chew it up, you digest it. That is the outside environment. You're bringing it inside your body, and your DNA tries to process that and take the best energy it can from it to create this ATP. Then it goes on to say here, and oh, by the way, environmentals can upregulate or downregulate your DNA for your benefit or to your detriment if it's something harmful, right? So when you lack sleep and exercise, your mitochondria are going to be affected by that, which we already spoke about. And when their communication network breaks down, and then when the both of you are malnourished, among other reasons. So, but ATP isn't what we think it is. Let's see what it says here. And I'm not going to read. If you guys get the book, then you can read the tiny print because there's comments here. I'm not going to go into reading these tiny bits. You'll have to get the book to get the benefit of that and to look at the pictures because there's some really great specific pictures in here. So mainstream biologists say mitochondria make the only form of energy our cells can actually use. That's very profound. That's a big distinction. A storage molecule for electrochemical energy called adenosine triphosphate. Adenosine triphosphate. That means 3 phosphorus molecules, and then you have 1 adenosine, also known as ATP. So when I was in pre-med, they used to tell us, just think of ATP as all the power, because all the power from your body is coming from the mitochondria. So that's an easy way to remember what ATP does for the body. But as it turns out, this is only partly true. ATP is indeed essential to the operation and maintenance of the human body, just not for the reason we think. Conventional wisdom says ATP is used to activate ion channels like VGCCs, drive chemical reactions, and help transmit nerve signals, control DNA synthesis. That means that your DNA is synthesizing, it's basically digesting, and even organize the expiration of cells. All true. However, the best minds now know ATP's primary role in biology is it unfolds proteins to expose their binding sites to water. Proteins then function correctly when they're properly shaped, which is hydrated. That's why it's so important to be hydrated. You've got to have good quality mineral spring water. Get your Celtic salt, dab it on your tongue, let it absorb, and then drink that water. At the same time, water in a special form provides power to the cell with net negative electrical charge. Negative. It's going to pull instead of push. That's super important because it's going to pull the energy. The more water that surrounds proteins in the cells, the bigger the battery. It's a good thing that cells have to power their process. The battery is a particular form of water now called an exclusion zone, or what I call what this is, this guy, R.D. Lee, he calls it the E zone. Dr. Jack calls it the exclusion zone as well. When referring to the substance or E zone layer, when describing its formation, E zone is basically water that's chemically restructured into a honeycomb shape, so some of its positively charged hydrogens are separated from its negatively charged oxygens. Apparently, this is explained in greater detail in chapter 8, which is all about water. This charge differential is what gives the DC electricity they needed to run their operation. And as part of this process, ATP helps E-zone form around proteins by relinquishing one of its phosphate groups, left arm of ATP molecule above, to release electron energy contained in its bonds. The adenosine triphosphate molecule that's charged up becomes adenosine diphosphate. So it goes from 2 to 2, from 3 adenosine triphosphate to adenosine diphosphate, where there's 1 gone and 2 remaining. And then it's discharged by having that reaction. Those electrons supplied to their respective process are voltage, that's energy, that make enzymes and proteins change their structural posture, thereby enabling the protein to do the things it's designed to do. Now you know why mitochondriacs think of ATP, all the power, collectively as one of the body's main mammalian batteries. ATP is portable electricity that switches proteins into different conformational configurations. It allows the energy to shift. The shifting of shape is the mechanical action by which many proteins accomplish their work. Pumping, for example. Okay. We have a couple more paragraphs left, and then we'll be done with this section. So in the case described above, the ATP helps proteins harvest and store energy from the environment by opening their structure to charge separated water. I want you to think about that. Water on the outside has deuterium. The water in your environment that you're showering with, that you're rinsing your mouth with, when you brush your teeth and so forth, that all has deuterium. The water inside your cells is deuterium depleted. That means it does not have any deuterium. It's the purest, most positively, not positive in the sense of positive, negative charge, but right charged water that you have that's required for your body to function. So ATP is important for more reasons, and the different reasons than the prevailing orthodoxy. He's trying to poke a jab at centralized medicine and what they've been taught in medical schools. This is a hard concept to swallow for almost every researcher and educator alive who learned in school that ATP is a fuel, no more and no less. But how can we be so sure, despite 50 plus years of believing that ATP is the biofuel of the body? So for starters, in 1950, Dr. Gilbert Lang showed that if ATP really powered all 100,000 biological operations that take place in cells, let's pause there. Yes, your cells take care of over 100,000 biological operations. Pretty impressive. It would break the second law of thermodynamics 50-fold. His study was repeated in 2007 by other researchers who concluded that the number is closer to 3,000-fold. Yikes. In other words, there's no way on earth that mitochondria can make enough ATP to accomplish all the things that popular science thinks it does. As a result, some of Dr. Peter Mitchell's conclusions about ATP have to be wrong. Brilliant as they were and still are, despite the fact that he won a Nobel Prize in 1978 for his work in describing this chemiomosis process, also known as oxidative phosphorylation, that makes ATP. The numbers just don't add up. Problem is, no one was listening to Ling, and the misconception about ATP still persists to this day. So is there any validity to the idea that ATP powers almost the entire body? Could so many scientists and researchers have been so mistaken for so long about such a core principle in biology? Well, it says here it's debatable. And Dr. Jack Kruse would say absolutely, positively, without a shadow of a doubt, and he has tons of proof. I believe time will show ATP to be an essential enabler in the process by which proteins operate. Researchers observed ATP performing mechanical and chemical operations around the body and could not see that which they were not looking for. ATP's electrical energy making proteins bend in such ways that they function correctly. This is arguably ATP's most important function, not simply releasing electrical energy when its chemical bond is broken. Honest mistake, because ATP does carry electrical energy, but important distinctions to make nonetheless. So we're going to finish this here, and when we come back, we will continue. We started here today at page 45, and we finished at page 48. So some interesting things I think have been revealed, and some of the key components as to why some of the disparities and the discrepancies that we see sometimes or oftentimes in medicine and science are being uncovered here. And I would say uncomfortably uncovered here, because the reality is that we know, I personally know from having spoken to many professors, that oftentimes, even in light of the new facts, they don't want to start changing what they're teaching because they don't want to change their entire curriculum. They don't need to go on a search for a new textbook that will have that new data, which probably isn't published yet. And it creates a whole huge amount of work. And it also starts to put them in a challenging position where now they have to go to their peers, and now they're going to be challenged by the consensus of all their peers who haven't got up to speed yet, and it's just easier to go with the status quo. That has been in my personal conversations with professors one-on-one, not on public forums, just on one-on-ones. So you can't blame them. You can and you can't blame them. You know, it's like, you know, it's not fun being, you know, challenged in that way, and then maybe even, you know, your reputation being compromised. But sometimes you have to do what you have to do. And like Dr. Jack, he has no fear about, he doesn't care about what the consensus is. He doesn't care about the centralized paradigm. He cares in doing what's best for his patients and getting to the truth. And whatever holes he recognized in his education, he started on this voracious quest as a direct result from him walking up 3 steps, tearing his meniscus. Made absolute no sense. But once he started understanding the light environment in which he was in as he was going up those steps, the light environment in which he was doing surgery, you know, he was in the hospital at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning and was under LED lights, halogen lights, fluorescent lights throughout the entire hospital, including the operating room, in his car, in his home, everywhere he went. He started putting the pieces of the puzzles together. And then he totally changed his schedule, where he no longer did surgeries early in the morning. Every morning he was at sunrise out in the sun. Every day that he does a podcast to this day, he does it outside with his shirt off in the sun. Wow. So whether the podcast is an hour or 3 hours long, he's getting sun the entire time. Yes. German descent guy, doesn't have a whole lot of melanin, but he has built up his solar callus and is able to do that. He has a ton of vitamin A that he's getting every day, ton of vitamin D, and other benefits with melatonin, serotonin, circadian rhythms, getting rid of a lot of deuterium that's inside the body, and so forth. So without getting all preachy and teachy, we're going to wrap this up. It's been half an hour. Thank you, you guys. Carol, thank you for tuning in and being my wonderful co-host. And we'll tune in. I don't know when we'll do another chapter, but we will do another chapter soon.
We're getting there.
We're
Good
getting
job.
there.
Good job.
We are getting there. All right. Ciao for now, my friends and gems. And if you or someone you know is interested in learning about these little patches that you see Carol and I wearing, this patch, if you wonder what this is doing, I'm not going to tell you what the patch is, but I'm going to tell you what this does for me. This increases my memory, my focus, and my brain processing speed. And it also helps regulate all things related to my heart and all of my muscles and my cardiovascular system. Now you see how I'm able to recall so much of the stuff because I have increased memory, focus, and brain processing speed, even though I no longer have. I had brain damage, and I no longer have brain damage. And I have no pain from that terrible bus accident where I was hit 3 blocks shy of finishing a 16-mile bike ride. If you want to learn more, you can see here the times that I do these Zooms. You can tune in 2 p.m., 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Pacific time, or 7 p.m., or if you want to be an early bird and come in at 12 Pacific, 1, 2, or 3, depending on the time zone you're in, and DameLillianZoom.com. You see it right here. Okay, it's this way. Everything is reversed. So DameLillianZoom.com. Just jump on there and you'll be able to join on the Zoom. It's 30 minutes. And if you're not there, you're square. No. You're fine no matter. It doesn't matter what you do. You're a big boy or big girl. I would never tell you what to do.